For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Rufino's on Highland Road, welcome to the Friday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Sandegriff, Jimmy Ott, Max Gotro, Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio, and, of course, all of our guys on Friday, Chris Massaro, Troy Macker, Bruce Marshall. Super Regionals getting ready to start at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, with North Carolina and Arizona going here just as we speak, getting ready to start the first of 8 Super Regionals. LSU tomorrow at 1 o'clock against West Virginia in their Game 1. We got 4 games today after Arizona and North Carolina. We got the second game is Miami and Louisville, so we got a lot of ACC flavor here early, and then Florida State. Got a puncher's chance on the road against Oregon State. That figures to be a pretty competitive series. We'll see.
A puncher's chance. It's a pick-up series, boy.
I know.
8-9.
I'm trying to downplay my Jamie.
Yeah, you reverse jinx.
Yes,
you Jamie on. I mean, come on, man. That is a puncher's chance would be Little Rock.
I'm not sure they shouldn't be favored with Arnold going in Game 1, but that's going to be a good series.
Should be, but that's a long flight, man.
It is a long flight. We're talking about how in the world you get there. It's a pretty tough deal. In Coastal Carolina and Auburn, we got our buddy Jeff was saying putting in a temporary seating at Auburn, extra seating for the Super Regional against Coastal Carolina. Tell you what, that's going to be a really good Game 1. The Coastal Carolina pitcher is 14-0, I believe. No, 11-0. Excuse me.
2.0 ERA.
Jacob
basically.
Morrison, 2.19.
Okay.
Against Sam Dutton, who has had a great year overall, but not as good.
Not in great
recently.
form.
No, he gave up 5 runs in 5 innings in the regional, and his last 2 starts of the regular season were a little bit rough.
A high of innings that he's thrown in his college career
a lot, by a significant amount. So, interesting series.
It seems like it's going to be, pretty popping good. Auburn. And they're hungry. They're hungry, Charlie.
They are. That's going to be a good series. I think the Miami Louisville series. Neither one of those teams were a seed, but that's kind of a toss up.
Before you leave Coastal Carolina, I think Coastal when they came through here and won and didn't even need an if necessary game. And then they won the whole thing. It was more offensively, hitting with their lineup.
Yeah, they still ain't got that dude with the beard out.
This is a pitching heavy. I mean, you win 1-0 a Sunday game or 1-0.
That did catch my attention, man. You're right.
Okay, a 1-0 Sunday regional game. There ain't many of those. It's 29 game winning streak, 25.
22, I believe it is. Yeah,
it's the longest winning streak. I mean, so their form is they're.
Yeah, they took over when Northeastern lost. Northeastern had won 28 in a row. I think they assumed the longest win streak in the country at that point.
So if you look at the number on that series, with Auburn having home field, they
21 in a row.
They think forget the seeds. They think that's the odds makers think that's an even series.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's teams that have had really good. Coastal Carolina and UTSA. They've just won a ton of games, and I get that the strength of schedule is maybe not as good as Auburn, but 51 wins, man, in 62 games. That's
Charlie. It's not in the Patriot League. These are decent leagues.
That's right.
Okay?
Coastal Carolina ran through the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt a little bit down this year. For some years, they're the 9th best rated conference this year. There have been some years where they've been as high as 5 or 6. So they're a little bit down, and I think we talked a little bit about why. Some of the teams at the bottom of the Sun Belt are just not financially competitive. They've always played a good brand of baseball.
Teams at the top.
Teams at the top are fine.
No, they're not.
Oh, well,
compared
Coastal Carolina,
to the SEC teams?
No, not compared to the SEC teams. I'm talking about compared to their – Coastal Carolina I would put up against any Sun Belt champion in the last 5 years. But when you get – the reason their overall conference record, in my opinion, is down. Rating, which is down at 9. is because some of the teams at the Lafayette, for instance, okay, is not nearly as good as
But
they have
Lafayette
been.
usually is near the top.
They usually are. And what did we talk about? They have made a decision. They're not
paying their athletes.
They're not going to do revenue sharing, and so you're gonna see them pay the price. But Coastal Carolina is really, really good, and I think it's going to be a terrific series. I think it's going to be a terrific series for UTSA and UCLA.
Great. Both teams are in tremendous form, and I'll repeat myself as far as Texas San Antonio. That's one thing to go through that regional, not losing a game in Austin. And we know that Texas was compromised without their starting pitcher, but that's one game, okay? But it's also the path. And the 2 games that they played against Texas, they're down 7-1.
Yeah.
7-1, and you come back and win.
On the road in a regional.
In Austin.
Yeah, in Austin.
And then you jump on them 7-1. We're bringing in our hammer. Our closer, who's 8-0, he leads them in saves, but he's also 8-0. What that tells you is they're putting him. They have enough confidence in their lineup, which I think is a .317 team batting average.
Yeah.
Okay. 7 guys have over a 300 batting average in their lineup, and they have enough confidence in that lineup that they bring him in either tie games or close games. And he's getting those wins, 8-0, and he shut it down. Gave up 1 run, 7-2. Thanks for shopping. Because like the Murray State coach, they interviewed him. Yeah, we're up 8 runs right now, but Ole Miss is going to make a run. The crowd's going to get back into it. Little Rock, LSU's going to make a – there's no run in Texas at home because they just laid the hammer on. That's impressive, man, being down 6 and then just boom. I mean, not even sweating in the elimination game. That's impressive. And UCLA, Charlie, on their side, they can't play any better. They're playing really, really good baseball right now.
And forget about the name brands here. Texas San Antonio against UCLA. All right. First of all, remember, UCLA is in the Big Ten now. Okay. So some of those Pac-12 power rankings that a UCLA team might have had in the past are not really there. The Big Ten and the American, which is where UTSA is, are basically even. They are the 3rd and 4th best conferences in college baseball, and the power ranking between the two of them there's almost nothing there. It's almost identical. UTSA against Q1 and Q2 schools is 15-6. UCLA is 19-6. So you have very comparable records. You have very comparable strength of schedules here. This is not like I said, don't pay attention to the brands here. This is a very, very even series, I think.
And in the odds element, as far as just think right now, if you had the NBA playoffs, where the top 3 favorites are in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't happen. What's happening here? Because one side of the bracket, and basically your conference, LSU, Tennessee, Arkansas, well, they're all lined up to play each other.
Yeah.
2 of them are playing in the Super Regional, and then when they get to Omaha, very first game, they're playing. So what that does is there is a little bit of a path. That's why North Carolina, both of us, because of Knapp, because of their team, and their favorable draw this week, this weekend, they are the real favorite. They're the reality favorite.
Correct.
The LPI live at lunch.
Oh, the LAL power rankings.
Yeah. LALPI. So
I like a good acronym.
Yeah, LALPI says we think North Carolina, but I think the price is at 15-1 at Bet Rivers. That is our Oregon State and Florida State, because then they play in the first game in Omaha, Louisville, Miami winner. They'll be the favorite. What's that mean? You don't play North Carolina first, you miss Knapp, and that's a big deal.
Don't they remind you that NC State team with Rodon? Like they've got this monster.
No. They got much better at pitching after him than NC State had. Yeah, and they Rodon that year and Knapp this year, I think, are equally as impressive. We'll have to see if Knapp can do it on the big stage in Omaha, because Rodon did. But,
he did in that first game,
that's the only game they won. This team is better. And their pitching staff is much deeper.
Big advantage. Knapp with the ERA of 198. Kramkowski, who is going for Arizona, 473 today. Although Arizona does have a one-out double here in the top of the first inning, so we'll keep you going with that. West Virginia got into town last night. LSU in West Virginia tomorrow. They'll have some media availability later today. I'm most interested to see what West Virginia has to say about Gavin Van Kempen, who was their one of their weekend starters throughout the season. Van Kempen pitched in a game on May the 16th. He went in for one batter. They had to take him out. He had shoulder soreness. That's something that's plagued him off and on all season. He did not pitch in the conference tournament. He did not pitch in the regional. What that means is, and I've done this a couple times this week, but I'm going to repeat it because I think it's important. Without Van Kempen, they ran Griffin Kern, their ace, in Game 1. Jack Carstonis in Game 2, who's been their number 2 starter for most of the back half of the season. And then they had to chop up Game 3 of the regional. They were not pressed into a Game 4. They'd use 8 pitchers on Sunday. So if this thing gets to a Game 3, and I expect them to flip their order because Kern had to pitch again on on Sunday, I think that a Game 3 would either have Van Kempen coming off of what would be a better than a 2.5-week layoff. It would be, I think, 24 days since he has pitched, and better than a 3-week layoff, or a bullpen day, which is what they did in the final game of the regional, and they had to bring the ace Kern back. So if it got to a Game 3, I think the clear advantage would be with LSU. But we got a lot of baseball to play before then.
It's fun, man.
Yeah, I love these weekends. Tomorrow, especially with eight games going. And today they got them spaced. You got one game from now until probably about 11:30 tonight.
Appetizer features today and throughout the weekend here at Ruffino's. The crawfish beignets. Hal is already knocking them down. Louisiana crawfish tails with the green onion coulis. The shrimp and marjorie. Eggplant to medallions, Gulf shrimp with a mushroom cream sauce. Our entree features today and through the weekend an Ora King salmon with the sauce Nantua, the rigatoni pasta, pickled shallots. Suggested wine pairing is a stout family Sauvignon Blanc from Napa Valley. Braised short ribs is our other featured entree this weekend with the mascarpone polenta, the wet red wine demi-glace, roasted carrots. Suggested wine pairing is a Frank Family Cabernet out of Napa. Dessert feature, a Surat special, key lime pie, whipped cream and lavender syrup with the graham cracker crust. Man, Chef Patrick does a great key lime pie. And always, don't forget, we have Ruffino's Old Elk. It's our Ruffino's exclusive, hand-picked, single-barrel select bourbon over here at Ruffino's.
Live at Ruffino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yes, indeed. Of course, the Belmont Stakes this weekend. And it's not just one race. I mean, that's the big one. But it's a tremendous card and tremendous setting. You know, the second year that it's in Saratoga, the oldest racetrack in the country. Beautiful Saratoga. Love going to Uncommon Ground for a little breakfast in the morning on Broadway Street downtown, and going to see the Clockers early in the morning, and going out at a little bit of an adult spring break, but it's really cool. It's everybody's into the horse racing. You at the restaurant next to the trainers and the jockeys and the media and the owners and everything. It's just a cool setting. It's a really cool place. I always say Saratoga is great racing with a party. Del Mar is a great party with some racing. Let's go live to Saratoga. My buddy Chris Massero, who's with us every day, with my boy Paul Bovey, who's still holding his head low a little bit with the Knicks going down in the conference finals. Chris, how is it at Saratoga?
Oh, it's beautiful, Jimmy. A little overcast today. We got a little rain last night. Broke the high temperatures. It was in the mid-90s yesterday. It was a little insufferable up in the grandstand. But we're a little bit cooler today. Expecting some rain a little later. We're moments away from the second race. So if you hear a little background noise of Frank Miramati calling the second race, that's my apologies.
No, we love it. We love it. The one I did, the last radio report I did live from the track was at Del Mar, and our server, she kind of dropped an F-bomb on live radio.
I think I was anchoring that day. Yeah, it's coming back to me now.
I was doing some picks on Moscona's show or whatever. But anyway, hey, you survived the conference finals, but who did you have last night in Game 1? And I mean, What do you think? I mean, we're ready to anoint this OKC team. As one of a historically best in a regular season defense and record. And I don't know, man. You got 19, 20 turnovers at half. You better have more than a 10-point lead at home in Game 1.
I was just saying to somebody, the Pacers would have blown out OKC if it wasn't for those ridiculous turnovers in the first quarter. A record 10 turnovers in the finals in one quarter. But if you look at the game, it's kind of crazy. The Pacers out-rebounded OKC, a team that got totally dominated in the boards by the Knicks, 56-39 rebounds. Assists, 24-13. That was very shocking. I looked at that this morning. How in the world does the OKC Thunder only have 13 assists? You have SGA, 38 points. The rest of the team is just standing around. I mean, no one did anything. There's no scores, and the balance scoring on the Pacers is very pronounced. 6 players in double digits. Siakam led with 19. No one more than 20, but a lot of guys balanced. And they just dominated the game. If they didn't have those turnovers, I think this would have been a cakewalk win. And I'm confused with what OKC's doing. They obviously don't have the coaching advantage as you have, Carlisle with a big advantage, an ex-NBA champion coach. So I listened for 2 straight days how no one could possibly beat OKC. You got people on every network. It's going to be 4. It's going to be 5, maybe 6. But hey, with that type of effort last night, I can't be too confident if you laid OKC minus 700-800. I have a plus 1,400 from midway through the playoffs on the Pacers, so I'm riding it out. I did take a couple hedges, OKC in 5 and OKC in 6, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen now. What do you guys think?
You kind of barking up my tree a little bit right now, because when they steal last night, and I'm like, man, the way this thing played out, this should not have been a close game, and it still was. So maybe Indiana is matching up the rebounding as well. Now, OKC did hit some shots. They may improve on their shooting a little bit moving on, but I think there's more things that are encouraging. Had Indiana lost last night, to me, they had some encouraging signs that they can be competitive in this series. Now you steal one. So I'm thinking the series market, Charlie, when Indiana wins last night, what did you think the series price would be?
Oh gosh!
Are you guys talking
about Chris?
Go ahead, Charlie.
Chris, you too.
Let him go first because he's going to be closer than I am. He's been closer to the mark than I have.
I haven't even looked at what is the series.
No. I would. Okay, good. So what do you think it is?
Well, just based on how this crazy playoffs has gone, and when we saw what happened when the Celtics lost the first game to the Knicks, and they were the minus 800 pregame series price, the price didn't really shift that much. It was still like minus 540 or minus 480 or something. So I'm assuming that's probably what it is again. I just would not
Max, see what that is after game 1, Knicks Boston. You know what it was?
I would say it would probably be OKC 180.
I thought it would be. Yes, I thought it would be kind of a slight favorite. And to me, where they are minus 300 right
Still
now.
Still 300. Okay.
Yes,
wow.
that's at our friends at the Queen at DraftKings. Okay, if that's minus 300, they're telling me we don't want any more OKC action. To me, that's what it says.
Yeah.
We don't want. I mean, they've been bet so much on this, and you saw how the line went to 10. It went off at 10 last night. So, I mean,
and it was 10 and a half hour before tip, by the way.
I'm taking some Indiana series right now. You know, it's not the ideal price, but I'm taking some right now.
Boston was minus 360 after game 1.
Minus 360 after game 1. So these are some real similarities here, because New York stole it, but then New York show us, Chris, in your mind, I know you watch it closely because you're a big Celtics fan, but did New York show us as much in game 1 that Indiana showed us last night, or to be competitive, or maybe have a chance after your first sample size in game 1?
But the thing is, though, we've kind of seen the sample size for the whole playoffs with Indiana. They keep doing it. This is their fifth or sixth miracle comeback. But is it a miracle, or is it just how they play, or they just don't give up?
It's a trend.
They just have it's a trend, yeah, and it's a team, a very deep team that doesn't wear down, that can play a high pace, and they just keep getting it done. And if you do remember, when the Knicks won Game 2, the Celtics were still favored in the series.
Yes,
so
yes.
You might see that again, and they stole both games in Boston. So the odds makers have kind of been off a lot of these games, and especially the Indiana series. They've been underdogs in every series. Actually, the Milwaukee series, there was pretty much a pick 'em, but they've been underdogs in Cleveland. They were underdogs against the Knicks. They're huge underdogs again, and it's like you said, it's a trend. Maybe it's just their year.
I'm just happy for your sanity and your mental state of mind that your bet on Oklahoma City was to win the Western Conference and not to win the NBA Finals, because I knew another one of these Indiana crazy comebacks were coming, and we didn't want you to want to rain on your parade when you're hitting a mid four figure pick 5 yesterday at Saratoga.
Oh yeah, we had a good day yesterday. Who
you got on the card today? Card tomorrow in the big race for Belmont.
Okay, I want to give you two plays today, both prices. I don't want to come on and give a bunch of favorites, and that's no fun. But today in the 4th race, the 3-horse, Echo in Eternity. Okay, you have Flavian Pratt coming aboard for Bruce Levine. You don't usually see that combo often. This is a major rider upgrade from Eric Cancel to Flavian Pratt, probably one of the top 2 or 3 jockeys in this colony. This horse, numbers are slightly below the favorite, which the favorite's the 5, Armigale. But you're getting 12-1 on this horse. This horse got major kickback its last start, took a lot of mud in the face. I'm thinking that we get a better trip this time. This horse should be closer to the lead, 12-1, worth a shot.
12-1 morning line. Okay, Echo in Eternity.
12-1 morning line. The number 3 horse in the 4th race. Okay. Let's hop over to the 7th race. Similar horse that had type of horse that had a trouble trip. The 8 horse, Storm Miami. You have Brendan Walsh trained. Last race at Churchill Downs. This horse steadied at the start, was bumped at the quarter pole, and had to check. Had all sorts of trouble. You get Frankie Dettori, older jockey. One of the world class jockeys of all time, but. I just think this horse is going to get forgotten. Coming in from Churchill, trouble trip, 8 horse, Storm Miami in the 7th race.
Okay,
also a big price, 15-1.
And that is that's on the turf, right?
Yes, that's on turf race, correct.
Is it just me? He's an Irish horse. Now, these Irish horses have been. It seems like they've been having pretty good success over in the turf this racing season.
Well, if you happen to catch the last race where I had the 6 horse, an Irish horse came storming home and nailed the favorite on the wire. It was a pretty exciting ending to the card yesterday. They have been. The turf course is in great condition. Looks fantastic. Hopefully the rain holds off, but it's supposed to be some thunderstorms in the next few hours, but we will see.
Do you have reserve seating for tomorrow when the cavalry comes?
Oh, yes. Yes, we do. We actually are very fortunate, friends with some guys who are part of Belladonna Racing, Cherie DeVoe. We're able to garner us some nice box seats near the finish line, so very excited. We'll be undercover. Hopefully there's no rain. And I'm leaning towards journalism. I just think probably the best horse, even though he's in his 3rd start and the other 2 are a little fresher. I just think journalism, as long as Rispoli doesn't screw it up, he should be there at the end.
Okay, well, yeah, the jockey is always a concern. You saw that ride in the Preakness for sure. These 2 races, though, he's taken a lot out of them. Obvious. Is that? I mean, will that compromise him in this race? And then also Sovereignty. Man, the workouts, the reports and the workouts, Chris, I'm sure you've heard, have been really, attention grabbing.
Yes, I agree, but if you also see how good journalism just looks on the track, the horse is just one of the most beautiful horses, and as we talked a couple weeks ago, we weren't sure he was even going to run because, after a race like that, we have all that trouble, you get banged around, you usually don't come out of it great. But like I said, he was eating good. He was looking good, and he's looked fabulous on the track this week. So I just think as long as Rispoli doesn't get him in trouble, a very big if, because the guy seems to get in trouble everywhere he goes. He should be the winner. I think he's the best horse. I would think, those top three, it seems pretty chalky that it's just going to be Journalism, Sovereignty, and Baeza again in some order. But I'm going to be probably leaning towards Journalism. You're going to take a stand on one of the three. You can't bet them all. So,
Charlie, Chris is at the track. We have a group that's going down to Beau Rivage. I won't be able to go, but the in Beau Rivage to watch. It's a 14 race car. We're into it. We're going to watch. But can you get the casual sports fan, just the mainstream sports, can you give them something to watch? And you got this Journalism Sovereignty matchup now, which we didn't know if we were going to get. So you got a little juice. And I'm fine with it being at Saratoga when it's just a dual meet and there's no Triple Crown on the line.
Yeah, and it's the next best thing to having somebody go for a Triple Crown is the heads up between. We see some of these classic matchups, the Sunday Silence, Easy Goer type, things.
Firm Dally Dollar.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. Maybe we can get something like this. I will tell you though, you were out yesterday, but Colucci says he gives Baeza a real shot to win this race.
Baeza?
Over both of them.
Yeah. What do you think about Baeza? Chris, before we let you go?
Oh no, I think he's great. I think he's great. He had a trouble trip too in the Derby. The only thing I question is, California shipper coming into Saratoga sometime. I know Journalism is as well, but McCarthy's been able to win all over the country. So I'm just not sure if Baeza is good enough, but I think it's going to be those three in some order. I'm just not sure which order, and I was going to lean Journalism. But you're right. But the matchup with these two, and hopefully we get them the whole summer racing back at Saratoga again later this summer. We get a bunch of duels. It'd be awesome. Good for the sport.
Were you with Bovey when Halliburton hit another one? Did he have flashbacks last night? Oh, is he okay?
No, he actually left early. He ducked out early.
Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. Three best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
Hey, Troy, how you doing, buddy?
No, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on again.
Yes, indeed. We've been talking a little bit about the adjustment from after last night's game one upset by Indiana again, and how heavy was the Oklahoma City handle to where you get a limited reduction? Where you went from minus $6 or whatever it was to now minus $3, even after losing a game at home. And I thought it was the way they lost as well. And we compared it to when Boston lost the first game to the Knicks and how they were big favorites, but they were still, what did we say, Max? $3.80, $4 after game one? $3.60. Did you have similar handle where the odds makers just didn't want any more Boston action? They had enough at it. And maybe they have the same type of Oklahoma City handle where they just don't want any more in this adjustment, because I thought it's game on after that upset last night.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with kind of an institutional knowledge of what we have about game two, especially if the road team wins game one. And so I was anticipating, a number above 9.5, which is where I believe it settled at game time. And even though, after I watched the whole game, and that game was basically played in and around 9 points the entire game, with the exception to I think right before halftime when the Thunder got it up to 16. It's going to be a 7 to 10 point kind of gap throughout the game, but we know in the NBA game anything less than 20 points is game on, because the team can rally back pretty quickly. So I thought, maybe they could reduce it a little bit and it'd be 8.5. But knowing game two and the institutional knowledge we have about how big game two blowouts can be in favor of the team that lost game one, to see it at minus 11 is not surprising. I do think, even though the Pacers have done this, the book, it wasn't going to drop the number down, too much. It's at 530 to win. Anything less, and people will be hammering it, because I think the public has just been on the Thunder and will continue to be on the Thunder. The Pacers don't get a lot of respect We had like less than $100,000 on the Pacers to win last night. That includes live betting, and we took decent live bets. We took a $1,000 live bet on the Pacers at 23-1 in the late third or early fourth. So people will bet, but it's just overwhelming to the Thunder.
Yeah, to your point, Troy. I mean, yes, it was even 9 as late as 2:52 to go in the game when Gilgeous-Alexander hit 2 free throws, to put it at 108-99. So still that late. And, it's not under a minute with a 9-point deficit, but it's not just the NBA, and it's this team as well.
I was sitting with somebody at that point, had a 9.5 ticket, and I said, I think you're okay here. I think they will pull away and cover this spread here.
There were some games that got down to 7.5 at that point. Yeah. So they were.
I had a 9 before the game. I had 9.5 in game, and then in and around when SGA hit those 2 free throws, and every time I'd look up, the Thunder were not finishing at the rim, and the Pacers were connecting on a corner 3. I started hammering everything Pacers in game to cover, and it got down to like 7-6. But I still took that, and then with 3 minutes to go, started hammering the Pacers money line because I just figured they've been here before. They've done this. While the Thunder are the team of the future, the better team on paper, have better length, have the best player, they're not nearly as proven as the Pacers. I trust the Pacers to win a close game far more than the Thunder, and Halliburton has more game-winning makes in this playoffs than the Pacers have losses. He's made 5 game winners. The Pacers only have lost 4 times, so I trusted them. And you can get them at like plus 500 with in a 3-point game, and that really is. I'll take that on a tie at the buzzer in an overtime or a game winner. So if you were betting live towards the end, it was very favorable to be on the Pacers.
Yeah, how late? They only led with the final score.
0.3 seconds is the latest first lead in NBA Finals history. 0.3.
And look, the way. And we talk about it so many times, huh, Charlie, about it's philosophical between coaches. And, Troy, you follow basketball enough, you realize this in college or pro. And it's just philosophical. Some coaches let their playouts. It usually has to deal with trusting your guards, making good decisions. But there was no doubt in your mind that this is the way they say, he's not calling the timeout, Carlisle. And he had 2 of them.
And he had coached it in the timeout before that. Whatever the last timeout was, he said, we're not calling timeout. He told them
and that team knows, to get the ball in Halliburton's hands. So, I mean, it's just – so how late in the game were you getting? What price were you getting the live on Indiana last night again, Troy?
The latest I got was Indiana plus 390 with about a minute to go, and they were down either 3 or 1, and then they immediately hit a 3-pointer, and I'm thinking, great, I'll take 390 on essentially Indiana to make one more shot and Oklahoma City not to make a shot. So that cashed too. So it was. I don't know what it was right before the possession that Halliburton hit the 3-pointer because I was too busy just staring at the TV hoping that all my bets cashed.
Well, the NBA doesn't get the big markets, but damn, could they ask for anything better? I mean, another one of these, and now, I mean, doesn't this add interest to the series?
It would for me, but I don't care that it says Pacers instead of Knicks. I don't care that it says Thunder instead of Lakers. I'd like to watch the game.
Okay, even with you, though.
Yeah.
Oh, because, I mean, now I kept hearing, and I want the series to be competitive.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you stole one last night, and you couldn't have played much worse in the first half. I mean, I think this is more than competitive. I think Indiana's going to be tough to beat.
They hard out. Oh,
They are. It's been fun. So I mean, and usually, Troy, it's you run the clock down because you don't want to give your other team opponent in a tie game. But Halliburton against Cleveland, he milked it down and took the 3 down 2. Last night he milked it down with down 1. He likes the clock to go down when he's losing.
Knicks. Yeah.
I mean, the Knicks. Did he dribble it down, or was it just
kind of lost it? I guess you could say.
Yeah. So I feel like in some of those instances, he kind of gets ahead of himself in the carts in front of the horses, and so he has to dribble it out, and so he's a little inefficient with his time towards the end, but usually he has enough time that 3 seconds of freelancing ad-libbing can get him back to where he needs to be with about 2 seconds to go. It's not the world's safest play, but when he continues to make it, what are you going to do? Criticize him?
All right, Troy, for our listeners that don't have a series bet, would you take Indiana right? Or would you take OKC? Would you make a bet on it right now at the current price?
No, I wouldn't. I would have taken Indiana before the series because you get them at just about 5-1. If anything, I would. If you're still heavy on OKC, maybe take OKC to win 4-1 exact. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers do exactly what they did in the last two series and steal games 1 and 2 and go on to lose this one 4-2 because I just do think the Thunder are better. They just need this was a learning experience for them. Series that I wouldn't. I just don't like the prices there. But certainly maybe think about going over 5.5 games. That's down to I think like minus 156, and that was at like minus 300 before the series. So some of the series markets have better value than I think the to win the series does.
This is a good summer sports weekend. You got some great cards, on the track at Belmont at Saratoga. You got Super Regional Round. We got a UFC card tomorrow night. What's the highlights of the card tomorrow night, Troy?
Yeah, it's a really good card. Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley 2. It's a rematch of the fight that Sean O'Malley lost his championship. Kayla Harrison, who's minus 770, she's the challenger fighting Juliana Pena for women's championship. There are a lot of heavy favorites. Joe Piper's minus 420 against Kevin Gastelum. I'm just going to give out a couple deep cut plays that are like plus money. I really like trying to find plus money because, especially since some of these prices are not super short on the money line. And so Juliana Pena is the champion. She's plus 525 on the money line. Kayla Harrison's an Olympic champion in wrestling. Pena finishes most of her fights. 8 of her 12 career wins have come to a finish. I would sprinkle a little bit on Pena to finish the fight. If she's either going to lose a decision to Kayla Harrison or she's going to win via finish, you can get plus 900 TKO, KO, submission, or DQ. I like that as a sprinkle. And then in Joe Piper versus Kevin Gastelum, Piper, 13 of his 14 career wins have been via finish. Gastelum's lost 6 of his 9 fights. Instead of taking Piper to just win outright at minus 420, I would take him plus 120 to win via TKO, KO, submission, or DQ. So I'm really trying to find some plus money here. And then one underdog is Vincent Luke, plus 210 on the money line to defeat Kevin Holland, who's minus 275. This is going to be a banger. Luke has heavy hands and really, really strong arms. He can put a vice grip on anyone. Holland likes to engage and have really wild fights that opens himself up. I don't see this going decision, so I'm really looking at plus money this weekend because I just don't love some of the normal lines, and I'm looking at plus 900, plus 120, and plus 210.
But would exactly on the Luke fight is the bet?
That's his money line, right?
Money line?
This is money line, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Luke money line, plus 900?
Plus 200 for
plus
him.
200.
That's the smaller one.
Yeah.
So it's 200.
Yeah, Juliana Pena to finish the fight. And then also one I didn't mention, is Sean O'Malley in the main event. He is the best hands, the strongest hands in his division. I do think he loses via decision, as he did in his first fight. Mm-hmm. But I think the play there is to sprinkle some on him to win via TKO or KO. Eliminate the submission, you can get it for plus 400. So instead of taking him to win at plus 235, if he's going to win, it's going to be via KO or TKO. So I'll take that at plus 400.
All right. O'Malley, KO, TKO, plus $4. Luke, moneyline, plus $2. Piper, TKO, submission or DQ. And then Pena to finish the fight. We got action, Charlie.
I'm in.
This is a rematch of the Sphere fight, Jimmy. You might remember that when they were in the Sphere, Merab and O'Malley. That was the first time around. So
yes.
Sean O'Malley thinks he won the first fight. I thought Merab won.
If I was a Knicks fan, I'd tell Dolan, stay his ass with the Sphere, concentrate on that, and leave the basketball alone. So, I mean.
Good luck. The fans there have been saying, you know what he does when somebody says that? He throws them out of the garden.
Yes.
Even if you're Charles Oakley.
You know, I want a nickname like Worldwide Art. You know, huh? And I can start naming coaches. What you think, Troy, huh? Not bad. Troy, we appreciate it. And follow Troy on Twitter at Troy Macker. That's Machar. Enjoy the weekend, Troy. Great stuff. We'll talk to you Monday.
You guys do the same.
What's wrong with the Godfather, Jimmy? That's perfect.
Yeah,
Come on, don't complain.
That's not
You got
bad.
a great nickname.
That's not bad. Yeah. I mean, T-Bob came up with that one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right. Total Maintenance, friends at Total Maintenance. It's hot. You break down. I mean, call our friends who support the show. You know, Lucas and I have been working together for a long, long time. They're one of South Louisiana's oldest and largest air conditioning heating companies in the state. Got offices in New Orleans and Baton Rouge, but they're separate offers, completely separate staffs, so they can concentrate on those different markets. In Baton Rouge, it breaks down. Call them at 480-1000. 480-1000. Of course, tell them you heard it right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And then if you get on our membership programs that cover all of the services, that we offer discounts and extended warranties as well, and that might help. That might help your unit in the future. It's hot. You were stressing those units heavily. If it breaks down, service today every day means nobody goes to sleep hot at Total Maintenance. 480-1000.
Bombs away in Chapel Hill. We'll get you an update when we come back here live at Rufino's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, it's over. It's second inning. No, it's over.
What?
So
Whoa.
Jake Knapp, the stud, pitcher of the year in the ACC, going for North Carolina, has actually given up 5 hits. They have hit some balls really, really. Arizona has hit some balls really hard. They've scored a run, but with the bases loaded and 1 out in the top of the second inning, they grounded into a double play to end the threat. I'm not sure it matters because North Carolina's going full bombs away. It's 8-1 in the bottom of the second. Arizona has changed pitchers from their ace to a guy with an ERA of 7. So if they hit the ace for 8 runs in an inning and a third, I'm thinking that they're going to hit the guy with the 7 ERA who just got saved by a diving stop in the gap. A couple of 3-run bombs for North Carolina. It's 8-1, bottom of the second inning. And Arizona, you bring in a guy in the second inning
already with this.
Yes,
putting this guy.
You're down 7-1.
Yeah,
I would too. I mean,
absolutely,
I'm not
100%.
Not burning any of my guys.
But if Knapp is throwing more pitches, he's not as likely to go deep.
Yeah, you want to work them.
There's another Willie Mays catch out in center field.
Yeah, 2 great plays to save this guy.
Hitting some loud outs.
It's over. For Arizona, this is about how fast can you get Knapp out of the game and make him use some bullpen because this offense is rolling for UNC.
It's not over.
It's over.
There's no money line available.
It's over. Live from Rufino's Live at Lunch.
OKC never thought they were going to lose last
104.5
night.
ESPN Baton Rouge.
He's out there somewhere in the world. Maybe even your local sports book.
Can anybody help us?
Let's bring in Bruce Marshall.
Brucey, another comeback for the Indiana Pacers in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Your thoughts on where we are and what your thoughts on the game last night?
Wow, this is up for grabs now, Jimmy. And I'm, listening to a lot of pundits today saying, okay, they think Oklahoma City still okay here. First of 2 they're going to be in Indianapolis. Oklahoma City is 0-7 against the line on the road this postseason. Now, they have won some games on the road, but they've been very close. The bottom line is, though, I mean, this throughout the playoffs, this has been a different team, home and road, and maybe they do bounce back in Game 2, although, I mean, here's the zigzag coming in, and we know that the team's off a loss, plus 19, plus 20 games against the spread in the playoffs here, but the exceptions to that have been involving Indiana in the last couple of rounds, going out on the road and winning 1 and then winning 2 as well. I think this series is totally up for grabs now, and I actually think Indiana's got a shot to win it. I really do.
Yeah, they won Game 2 in Cleveland. They won Game 2 in New York. After they won those first 2 games. I agree. I think we've got Charles, let me ask you, who do you think wins the series?
Oklahoma City.
Okay.
I still
Max,
think
you still Oklahoma City?
I think so.
I think the Pacers.
You think the Pacers going to win the series?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Bruce, who do you think's going to win? I mean, we know that the price is still. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's minus $3. For Oklahoma City still to win, but I think that's off.
I do too, Jimmy. I think Indiana's going to win this series in 6. And just a couple of thoughts here. One, going into the series, I thought there was a few things that needed to happen. Nembhard in particular had to make some plays when the ball was out of Halliburton's hands, and he was able to do that, especially this late in the game last night. Got out for some other guys too. Turnovers. Indiana had a chance to cut those down. Now it was like 2 games as far as that goes last night. The first half, 19. I mean, they were lucky to only be down 12 at halftime. But that's when I started thinking, they haven't lost. They still got to sniff at this thing as bad as they played the first half. And they cut that way down the second half, and the offense worked a lot better. So that suggests they might be able to handle, Oak City's defense. More importantly, it's important, I think, to make Oklahoma City play defense sideline to sideline. And you need good ball reversal, and Indiana can do that. This is a very eye-pleasing it's a random sort of passing game, but this is how the passing game should work. And Indiana moves the ball so well, the ball reversal. Minnesota didn't do near enough of that in the West Finals, and the Thunder was able to pretty much load up in the paint because that's where Minnesota kept going with the ball throughout that series, especially when they started to lose contact in those games in Oak City. The score lines mounted. Indiana's not going to do that, and so I think in those parameters there, Indiana might be able to. If they can execute that, they have got a real shot in the series. I'd also point out, late, if these games are close, Indiana obviously thinks it's going to win. And at times this postseason, Oklahoma City, the offense, in these close games, it tends to go right through SGA a bit much. I know how good he is. 3-point shooting has not been all that great for Oak City throughout the playoffs here. So I think they are vulnerable here, and you talk about a team on a hot hand. I think it's the Pacers. We'll see. Oak City did lose that opener to the Denver series and bounce back, but that took them 7 in that series. I think Indiana's got a real shot. I really do.
Of course, it's easy to say you'd like to have a ticket on Indiana at the original price before, but the price that's available right now, I'm fine going to get plus 240 with Indiana. I think that's a real value. So I mean, look, a lot of this, this. And listen, it's just the media that we want to talk about the GOAT and legacy before even things happen. I mean, there were actually people talking about a dynasty, with Oklahoma City. Can they win one? So, and this will be. We want to know one thing about this outcome, and that will be the 7th straight year the NBA has had a new champion. So, I mean, the league is got a little. It's tough to repeat right now in the league for whatever reason. But I got to tell you, boy. So one thing first, the 11. You're going to take the 11 because the bounce back number is a little inflated in Game 2 tomorrow on Sunday night, right, Bruce?
It is, and I think they've priced that into the zigzag here, which, like we said, has worked pretty good in the playoffs, really good, except these games with Indiana in Game 2. So we will see. One other note. Game 3 is where Indiana has really struggled, but they've been ahead in 2-0 in all the first 3 rounds, and then that is Game 3 where they've gone flat. So there have been some odd sort of trends involving the Pacers this postseason, but we'll just worry about Game 2 for now.
You want to weigh in before we leave the NBA on the Knicks? I mean, is this just reminding us? Jim Dolan reminding us why they've been so bad for 25 years, for so long?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's reminding us why he's Jim Dolan. I mean, he'd been sort of out of the hadn't been thinking about it too much lately, but here we go again. I don't know. I mean, listen, the Dallas Stars did the same thing today, too. They fired Pete DeBoer. I thought he sort of, and Max mentioned this last week about maybe he shouldn't have thrown Jake Ottinger under the bus so much. But some of these coaches, like DeBoer and like Tibbs, I mean, it's like, okay, we brought you here to win a title. That's a pretty high bar. Who are they going to get better than Thibodeau? Who are the stars going to get better than DeBoer? I don't know. But it seemed kind of rash to me. Listen, the Knicks, if it's winning a championship, maybe Leon Rose is the guy, the GM. You should be held more accountable because the roster we put together wasn't. There's some flaws in it. They're good and they're close to East Finals but I don't know any coach that would have got the Knicks farther than Thibodeau did. So we'll see.
Rose is the one that traded 5 picks for first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, who's a nice player.
They weren't high picks, were they? What was the highest pick?
Well, they're futures, so I mean they're first-round picks. Where they land, anybody's
no.
guess.
Well,
but,
I mean,
they're still first-round picks. While we're on bad management, can I ask this question because this move was expected yesterday, but it still shocks me. I've been knowing about it for 2 months, and it still shocks me. The Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the finest organizations in all of professional sports, signs Aaron Rodgers. This is the kind of thing, you don't have to come to OTAs. Show up for minicamp next week. We're fine. And it's a Pittsburgh team that has a good roster, a playoff roster, but is not on the doorstep of a Super Bowl. This is the kind of thing the Jets do. This is the kind of thing the Raiders do.
Right.
This is the kind of thing Washington did when Snyder was the owner. Bruce, I am flabbergasted. Not that Aaron Rodgers has got a 1-year contract to play another year in the NFL, but that it's the Steelers that signed him. And like I said, we've known about this for 2 months. But your thoughts about that, because it just seems like such a mismatch.
Yeah, I agree with all that, Charlie. And I think this is in the works even during the draft, and that's why the Steelers they got Will Howard in the 6th round. They didn't really address it too much. I have a strange thought about the Rodgers signing here. I almost think he's sort of a safety blanket for them, and that from what I've heard, they think they can win with Mason Rudolph. He got him to the playoffs 2 years ago. Now they brought him back from Tennessee, and where he was last year. And I will right now. I think Rodgers is not going to start every game this year. I think he's on a much shorter leash, and I think all the circus that surrounds Rodgers, they don't allow that stuff in Pittsburgh, and I think Rodgers, that's been pretty clear to him. Now he can be on Pat McAfee and do what he wants as far as that goes, but the circus atmosphere that surrounded Rodgers in New York, that ain't happening in Pittsburgh, and that's why I think you're spot on, because this does seem like an awkward fit. But I think there's another part to it. I really think they believe they can win with Mason Rudolph, and Rodgers just gives them another option here. And it's not just Rodgers with Pittsburgh. I could be totally wrong on this, but from what I'm hearing, they actually don't mind if they have to go with Rudolph here. So we'll see, but it does seem, organizationally, you're right. Seems like one of the most awkward fits you could find.
Bruce, the NBA matchup is not a great. It's not a big market bonanza by any stretch. And in the Stanley Cup Game 1, it had a very poor rating, lowest rated, least watched Game 1, the Cup Finals since COVID delayed Canadiens Lightning back in 2021. But they got both got tremendous games, and now maybe something to build on moving forward. But it was a good one. With just seconds to go at the end of overtime for the Oilers to take a 1-0 lead to the Panthers. Bounce back tonight.
Yeah, I might give the Panthers another shot here tonight, just because they've been so good on the road, and I have such a high regard for Florida here. But for the first time watching that game on 2 nights ago, and I was sort of thinking, Florida's going to get this thing again. I am totally not sure right now. This is a little bit different in Edmonton right now. It's a little different in Edmonton than we saw in the finals last year, that they did rally back from 3-0 down to force Game 7. I mean, since the Game 3 of the opening round against the Kings, I mean, this team has just picked up the pace from about the middle of the second period on in Game 1. It looked like Edmonton was going to get this thing. Now, they had to come back, and they were 2 goals down earlier in that game, and they had to come back and tie it and force overtime. But they looked much more likely to be scoring the last half of that game and into overtime. It was like one-way traffic. They've picked up the pace, and you talk about shrewd GM, what Bill Zito did during the season, and at the deadline, adding Seth Jones from Chicago. He had to get out of that situation in Chicago, and he's a top-line defenseman, and he is really good. And adding Brad Marchand too. It's just to get a guy like that who's won a cup before. He adds so much creativity to another line. He's on their third line now, but he's added more bite to that. I thought, Florida was just gonna roll through here, but Edmonton looks like they got an answer, even if Zach Hyman's out. So I'm kind of thinking the Oilers might win this series now, even though Game 2, I still might give Florida one more shot to bounce back. But this one might go 7, and I'm thinking Edmonton actually might get it. We'll see.
Yeah, after falling behind 2-0 to the Kings in the first round of the playoffs. And they've come back. All right, this is a new segment with us, Bruce. It's called Max's History Lesson. So we think that Max is got a lot of promise, as a sports talk show host, but he needs a better command, at least of the Super Bowl era for the NFL. So explain to him, Bruce, before I fill in some of the details, why was an undefeated team? Only team finished undefeated in history of the NFL. Why were they underdogs in the Super Bowl? Explain that to Max.
That's the Redskins. We can call them that still. It was a very tight spread in that game. I believe Miami had been an underdog the previous game at Pittsburgh in the AFC title game. Close.
You got to explain that to him. Why were they playing at Pittsburgh when they were undefeated?
Back then they did not. It was predetermined who would be the rotations for home fields in the playoffs were until 75, I think, and they finally changed it. So that's why Pittsburgh was at home, and that's why. There are still Raiders fans who believe if the Immaculate Reception was overturned, they would have won that game, and the Raiders would have hosted Miami in the AFC title game. And there's a lot of Raider fans think they would have won that game. But Miami was on the schedule had broken so well for Miami that year, and they barely got through the Browns in the first round of the playoffs, and that was still with Earl Morrall at quarterback. Greasy had just come back in the previous game against Pittsburgh in the AFC title game. That was not an easy game, and Washington was roaring at that point. They had shut down Green Bay in the first round and destroyed Dallas in the NFC title game. I think that had a lot to do with it. 26-3. Raucous. That was the height of the George Allen years in Washington, and they looked almost unbeatable against Dallas, and that's why they were a slight favorite in the Super Bowl. Miami was a better team the next year. I always believe this, even though they lost twice the following season when they won the Super Bowl, but the schedule was way, way tougher the following year. But, they won it 2 in a row, and they won that game against the Redskins, too.
A few add-ons, Bruce. Dallas killed Miami in the Super Bowl the year before. They beat them decisively. You talked about how Miami played 2 one-possession games in their 2 playoff games, and Washington destroyed, Green Bay. And the other thing is the schedule. How many of the 14 teams had winning records that the Dolphins played? It's a 14-game schedule.
The Giants were the only team with a winning record, 8-6. Now,
the Giants and Kansas City.
The Chiefs did. The Chiefs did too. Yeah, the Chiefs ended up 8-6 too.
Two teams and they were only 8-6.
Yeah. Although in retrospect, that was the Chiefs. They opened up. That was the first game at Arrowhead in the regular season and the opener, and the Chiefs were favored in that game, and Miami won 20-10 pretty easily. They had a game at Minnesota, and Minnesota should not have been 7-7 that year, but that's what they ended up. But as it turned out, that schedule was not that tough. They had a much tougher schedule the next year. In fact, that's why the Raiders fans still think we wish we got a shot at Miami, because they beat Miami in week 2 in 73, a game that was actually played in Berkeley because of the A's playing at home. And but Miami, I've always believed the next Super Bowl team from Miami was actually better than the undefeated 72 team.
I could hear Hammer and Hank screaming in WQAM. We're 14-0. We're playing on the road.
some reasonable points.
Sounds to me like ESPN's FBI would have the 72 Dolphins as the third best team of the season.
Well, there's a lot of people that talk about like this was not they're only undefeated team, but where would they rank all time is just how good they were,
outside the top 5 for sure.
Yes, I agree.
Probably somewhere between 5
I mean,
and
all
10.
of that. I mean, 2 teams and they were only 8-6.
I didn't think they would have been the 78 Steelers or the 84 Niners.
Cowboys.
Pick your favorite. Emmett Smith, Troy Aikman, Cowboys.
Raiders.
Miami the next year, though, has an argument for that because the way they dismantled the Vikings in the Super Bowl, the way they rolled through the playoffs that year, and like I said, a much, much tougher schedule that Miami had in 73. Yeah.
All right, Professor Marshall. Max,
class.
any questions for Professor Marshall before you get loose?
No, good. I enjoyed that history lesson. Back in school.
History lessons for Max's history lessons. Thank you, Professor Marshall. Enjoy your weekend.
You're
we'll
welcome.
talk to you next Friday.
You're welcome, boys. Okay.
All right. Don't forget, he doesn't throw anything at Bruce.
You've yet to throw something at him that he cannot, and he's not like looking it
No,
up.
there's no prep. No, there's
he's
zero
just
prep.
Right out the chute. I could have done some of that, but not all of that.
Don't forget our friends at United Community Bank with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years. At United Community Bank, your business is our business. We support you. The hard-working force behind local business, from initial startup loans to ongoing planning and assessments, United Community Bank is here for you. Our great team at United Community Bank, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, David Henry, and Prentice Wilkes. Again, United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Live at lunch, live at Rufino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, did we see what happened at Macero's race in race 4? Did they run that?
They're about to run it.
They're about to run it?
Yeah.
Okay, Charlie? Charlie?
Sort of paying attention over here.
Max of Sammy Burns, huh? Has he teed off yet?
Just underway. He birdied the first hole of par 5 and has parred the second, so he is 5 under for the tournament, tied for 19th, just 7 back of the current leader, Cam Champ, who kind of came out of nowhere. He's been playing mostly on the Corn Ferry Tour as of late, has really struggled in his career as of late, but a former PGA Tour winner, has a 3-shot lead over Thorbjorn Olesen and Cristobal del Solar. Olesen, one of Wes's picks this week. He also has Taylor Pendrith, who birdied the first hole. He's at 6 under. So we've got a collection of 3 players in the top 20 at the moment, but Sam Burns, our consensus pick, 5 under, T19 through 2 holes today.
I'm impressed with Jake Knapp. He's able to shoot 8 under at the Canadian Open and pitch for North Carolina at the same time. It's pretty good.
Got another run. I mean, he is not his sharpest today, though.
No, he is. He's given up 7 hits in 4 innings. He got the double play ball in the second. That was the key play. Otherwise, this could be a lot worse.
That was the first, huh?
No, it was in the second. It was top of the second. He got the double play ball with the bases loaded.
Well,
they scored a run in the first inning.
Right.
And in the
second,
they
were threatening again.
They had the bases loaded with 1 out, and he got the double play ball.
Okay.
North Carolina leads at 8-2 in the bottom of the 4th inning. A pair of 3-run homers for the Tar Heels, and Arizona on their second pitcher. I'm sorry, now on their third pitcher.
No,
on the third
that
pitcher.
guy couldn't see.
Hey, 7
he didn't give up anything.
7 ERA with an inning in 2/3 and didn't give up a hit.
Charlie,
a couple of strikeouts.
It wasn't because they weren't hit hard.
No, they've hit some balls very hard. This is a nightmare, Jimmy. How many times have we seen this? And North Carolina's going to get away with it today, where you get somebody who has pitched lights out all year, get to the postseason, and just doesn't.
I mean, we watched the TCU pitcher.
Yeah.
Last week. I mean, his stuff was on fire.
He was throwing 100 miles an hour.
I mean, it had movement, but they just were on him that day. And then, USC can't, Oregon State lose their first game. So, on Sunday and Monday, their pitching is more than compromised and completely shut down the same lineup. So I thought it used to be a little bit more in Rosenblatt, where we've seen the Chris Bensons and the Billy Koches, and we've seen even Brett Laxton before he pitched his great game. I mean, 5 days earlier against A&M, he got rocked. I mean, I don't think he got out the second inning.
No, he didn't.
And so, but at home you feel like you should be more settled in. The TCU guy at least was on the road at Corvallis.
Yeah.
But in Chapel Hill against these guys who are not. This is
a good Arizona team. It's not a great Arizona team.
My whole like looking at trying to sequence the brackets in North Carolina and then the winner of Oregon, and he's got a big deal with it. He's as hot as anybody. Let's say him, Anderson, because as weak as DBU looked, they on paper, that's a top 20 RPI team. And they're not. It's not because of their pitching, and I mean Anderson. They barely threatened Charlie against him in that Marble game.
They didn't. By the way, MLB. You want to know how hot Anderson is?
Go number one.
MLB.com posted their most recent mock draft this morning, and Cade Anderson is number one. Here's what they said about it. It said Anderson heads into Super Regional play second behind Tennessee's Liam Doyle in strikeouts among D1 pitchers, coming off of a regional start in which he threw 7 shutout innings, striking out 11, 4 hits and 2 walks. An athletic lefty that throws strikes with a legitimate 4-pitch mix. With all of his stuff ticking up in the regional. Looks like he's got plenty in the tank, checking off the durability box, and he will have just turned 21 before the draft as a sophomore eligible prospect. So all the things that you like there for Cade Anderson. They do have Liam Doyle number 2, and Jamie Arnold, who we'll see later today from Florida State, at number 5. And I think I don't know if this is just draft stuff and all that, but the high school kid Holiday out of Oklahoma. They think he's obviously it's going to take him
Jackson's
a lot longer
little brother.
to get. Ethan, I think is his name.
Yes.
Yeah. He is just he's further away from the big leagues than these college pitchers. These college pitchers should be there next year, or at the very least in the early part of the 27 season. And Holiday, it may be three years.
Any reason his older brother's struggles, or just he has struggled more than anticipated.
Yeah, it's not usually the first thing I look for is a signability issue. That doesn't appear to be the case here, especially since things are a lot more slotted now than they used to be. They used to be a big deal.
And the Orioles just went through this thing. I mean, so they have a track record of it was not a problem signing Jackson Holiday.
No.
Okay, so that doesn't figure to be a problem as well. Now, the big difference is, to me, Jackson Holiday does a lot of things. He's a lot like Jackson Merrill from San Diego, in the fact that if there's an extra base to be, like one of those singles that the outfielder's not really hustling after, he takes that extra base. I mean, he's going to take it. I mean, he does everything in the field flawlessly. I mean, he's a tools guy. He's just a little guy, and he's got a long swing. Well, his younger brother's not little. His younger brother's built more like his dad.
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
One other thing out of this deal, and this is kind of scary if you're Jay Johnson, 17 signees for LSU. We go through this every year. This year does seem a little bit ramped up. Of the 17 signees, 9 of them are in the top 100. This is in the top 3 rounds and, plus the sandwich rounds of the draft. That you go in the top 3 rounds of the draft, it's really, really hard to get them there. So they got 5 guys in the top 100, in the top 50, 4 more between 50 and 100. So you got 9 out of 17 guys. LSU will be sweating more guys than usual in the first.
We got to see where they're drafted.
That's where they're projected.
Yeah,
that doesn't always. That doesn't.
And
always,
then LSU is also. I mean, they got a guy on right now who's projected to go pretty high, huh?
They do
on their roster.
So,
my point is, LSU with their resources, with their player budget, they're going to get some guys that they couldn't have gotten in the past.
Yeah, and if you lose these guys, it does free up money to go, into the transfer portal. Transfer portal will be. Once again, they're going to dive heavy into it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on how many of these kids get here from the signing class as to how heavy you're going to dial into it. But it's going to be a bunch of moving parts here at the end of June.
So would you say that 20 years ago, it was top 10 rounds, was kind of the cutoff. Now it's top 3.
I would say that as recently as the year before COVID, it was still, I would say as recently as 19, it was still a top 10 rounds.
Just a pre the NIL transfer portal era.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to, gosh, I can't tell you how much better a chance you have to get a 4th-round pick on campus now than you did, 6 years ago.
All right, Cero's horses, they get in the gates. He's 18-1 now. So, think you had a shot?
Okay. Hey, in Chris we trust. You do that, I'm going to tell people about the Thibodaux store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. And you go to thethibodeaustore.com. The new website is up. Doesn't matter how you spell Thibodaux, thethibodeaustore.com. Father's Day right around the corner. So if you want to get Dad a big green egg cooker,
Ethan, listen, boy.
one of the grills that they've got there, one of the griddles, all of the cooking accessories that they have at the Thibodaux store, and also their sister property, the Pierre Pard store. Get online, thethibodeaustore.com.
Boy, listen.
Get Dad something that he'll like. And if you don't know what Dad likes, gift cards are available so Dad can go out and pick out his hand tools, power tools, stuff around the garden. If he's a fisherman, there's a ton of fishing gear at the Thibodaux store. Cypress furniture, gliders, rockers, swings, benches, all of those things are available at the Thibodaux store. Again, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. And online, Cajun Cookware. You can ship that. Delivery is available and free for the Cajun Cookware. Again, on the website at thetibodeaustore.com. So tell you how the horse did when we get back, and give you another update on the game.
Going a little wide, about 4th right now in the final turn.
North Carolina has extended the lead now. It is now 10-2 over Arizona. Live at lunch from Rufino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And today's show brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners when it comes to retirement. No two situations are alike, so let Coastal Capital Advisors work with you as well as your business partners and tax professionals to make sure all your retirement goals are in place. Coastal Capital Advisors will build a lifetime relationship with you. That's what they've done for me. I can highly recommend their services. They're going to, wherever you are at this stage of your life, what your income level is, whatever your age is, they're going to make a plan that's perfect for you. Give them a call, 337-981-1376. Tell Phil Fontenot you heard it right here on Live at Lunch. Online is coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors, member FINRA SIPC. Couple more for North Carolina, 10-2 there now. Jake Knapp has given up 8 hits in the 5 innings. He's limited it to 2 runs. He's been hit hard, but he has managed to limit the damage. In North Carolina has really teed off on 3, now going into their 4th pitcher for Arizona. So they're not done.
He's got a chance to have a respectable line score. If he goes 7 and gives up 2 earned. What pitching count is he at right now, Charlie?
He is. It was high after the first 3. He is at 77 pitches through 5 innings.
So he can two more innings. He can go 7, give up 2 earned runs. I mean,
if he goes 7 and gives up 2 earned runs, that's great. They've hit some balls hard. They just didn't take advantage when they had a chance in a second.
He does not look as sharp. There's no doubt. He's having a rougher time through this lineup than we anticipated.
Now, I point to the second as he was 5-1 in the second. Okay, that's a high leverage situation. They got the tie and run at the plate, even though it's really early. But since then, he's been pitching with an 8 to 9 run lead. So, he's not, he hadn't walked anybody. That's I would say that's the bright spot for him.
With an 8 run first when it was. When he gave up the run, when he didn't have the lead, how many?
They hit some balls hard. Yeah. They just hit them right.
It's not as sharp.
Not as sharp. Not as sharp.
Tell me a pitcher, a former pitcher, a current pitcher. You ever have your best stuff all the time?
No. Nobody.
You have your usual stuff about, I don't know what you want to say, 60% of the time, 20%. You got exceptional stuff, 20% maybe. Is that a little too high? Would you go maybe 70-15-15 with extreme stuff either way?
If you're 70-15-15, you're probably an all-star, I would say. If you've got
your normal stuff, you could be bad normally.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I wasn't
like Kyle
thinking of-
Freeland has
yeah,
been really bad.
I wasn't thinking of
but
it
then
that
he
way.
went to Miami because they needed
Yeah.
the sweep, with
Right.
the Rockies and pitched much better. Now he got out of Coors Field as well too. But no, I'm talking about your average.
Yeah.
If you average stuff,
Yeah.
70% means 7 and 15 is like, oh man, you're on fire,
Right.
like Evans.
Yeah, it's better in the last month than Liam Doyle has, even though Doyle is the superior prospect. And Doyle had to come back on short rest in the regional to get him out of there. Arkansas pretty much cruised through their regional. So I'm expecting Marcus Phillips tomorrow, who's a very good number 2, but he's going to face Arkansas's number 1. And then Gage Wood pitched really his longest outing since the injury. Gage Wood is Arkansas's number 2. He missed 2 months in the middle of the season. They've been ramping him back up since the comeback. I want to say this will be start 5. The last time out, he went 6 innings, which is the shutout innings, which is the first time that he's gone that far since the injury. So I like Arkansas in game 1 if it's Root against Phillips. By a little,
Charlie, this
by a little bit,
doesn't take
and I like him in the
this
second
doesn't
game.
take a tremendous amount of insight. I mean, Arkansas is the 3 national seed, so the committee and it makes did a lot of research and think they had the 3rd best season of anybody.
Yeah.
Well, Tennessee is the 14 for a reason. They were fortunate to they weren't offensive even hosting. Okay, and they're regional, who was stressed more. Tennessee was forced to an elimination game, was losing. I think only to the 4th inning, but they were losing in an elimination game on Monday. Arkansas did not have to play it. And Arkansas's already – what about over the course of – did Tennessee lose 5 out of 6 series?
They did.
And I mean, that's just not – that this
form
season, Arkansas is better. And at home, we know with that – we think it's significant a home field advantage.
All true, but pound for pound, talent for talent, don't you think Tennessee's a lot closer to Arkansas than 14-3?
Tennessee, I think, has more pro prospects.
Yeah. But pound for pound,
they
match up. Yeah.
But Tennessee is following up their first national championship in their program's history. There's, are you grinding as hard? It's the hunger factor there, and that hunger factor, especially. I don't like. I can't. But losing at home the last couple of times, man, they're just a little extra focus and tightness and hunger. They just a lot of the intangibles into the biggest. I mean, you put this series in Knoxville, I have a completely different opinion.
Sure, that's a big deal
at this stage of the season. Yes.
Let me ask you this: how many teams if it was on a neutral field, they were playing 2 out of 3 in Omaha? Anybody left in the field? How many would Tennessee be favored over? I can tell you what I think.
Wait, where are they playing?
If they got to the finals in Omaha, okay? 2 out of 3 in Omaha against who's left in the field?
Tennessee favored over all of them but LSU. And
Arkansas, I think. I think Arkansas would be a small favorite in Omaha over Tennessee.
Oh no, they're a small favorite at home.
I know. I think they'd be.
No, they're not going to be a small. If they're a small favorite at home, they're going to be a small dog. They're minus 125. I mean, that's basically a pick 'em with 40-cent lines. Oh, trust me, Tennessee's more public than Arkansas, Charlie.
No, you're probably right. Now that I think about it, and
they're small dog.
But it almost contradicts the seeding of the teams. You're betting on the brand and the potential more than what Tennessee is.
The lines
done.
are based on brands. Tennessee's the defending national champion. Arkansas's never won one. They get bet. They get bet more than Arkansas does.
You think they bet the historical that much with 2 programs that are this close? I mean, Tennessee's won one, and
I'm telling you what the betting public does. Why are they betting Tennessee?
Because of the talent level.
Because of they've done more than Arkansas in recent memory.
Very recent memory, yeah.
Yes, okay. Well,
I mean, you go back 2 years, yes. You go back 5 years, the edge goes back to Arkansas.
Charlie, the betting public is not going to. There's not a ton of college baseball historians out there.
Right, and I wouldn't think that they would go past this year.
You don't count on this one. I've been waiting to tell you that for
years. You're probably right. Yeah.
You're thinking deep, and that's how you think, and it's good, and that's your strength. But the betting public is not thinking as deep and is not historically in tune.
Tell me the betting
way
public's not as intelligent as me about this. On my way. Give me a compliment on my way out the door on a Friday. That's nice.
I think I've done that.
You did.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think I've done that.
Enough hours for one day.
I mean, I have personally recruited you to do our college baseball podcast. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, how much? Are you low on self-esteem today, boy?
I'm not. It's Friday afternoon. I feel
Max,
great.
I mean, he sets up the equipment one day, and he needs a little pat on the back.
Yeah, he's
wire
low on
directly.
self-esteem.
Yeah.
Maybe not as low as Aaron Rodgers. He probably thought his whole announcement yesterday was getting so much traction.
That's it.
Guess
Aaron
what?
Rodgers is rubbing off of
He
it.
got upstaged
That's
yesterday.
right.
He thought social media would all be the craze about Aaron Rodgers signing with the Steelers, but then they had some billionaires getting a little fight on social media.
Yeah,
then he got upstaged.
He picked the day that Elon Musk and Donald Trump decided to have a Twitter war.
Yeah, poor
they
guy.
got after each other.
Oh,
you missed
You
this.
were in the hospital all day yesterday. Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday was.
Oh, Saturday Night Live. Please pick up on this.
They'd have to hurry, but there's plenty of
They're all-
material.
they're all for the
plenty of
summer.
material.
They're off for the summer, yeah.
Oh man, this is a
Sorry.
bad week.
Sorry,
Bad
Jimmy.
week to be off because there's plenty of material today.
Oh,
Yeah, poor Rodgers.
you ever see that guy that does Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live?
No.
He
Oh,
does
that's
his
the
little-
Canadian.
Oh, he's funny. Of course, the guy that does Trump is funny too.
Yeah.
I mean,
They'll have no shortage of material when they get back.
oh, that's good stuff. Who was right? Who was wrong?
Who knows?
It's hard to tell.
You don't want my opinion.
It's hard to tell.
Why? Tell me.
You don't
Max.
want my opinion.
It's
I'm
hard
out.
to tell.
Michael Myers is who you're thinking of, the Canadian.
Yes, they
Elon,
brought the old the Hall of Famer back to do him. Yeah, Michael Myers. He's the what's that?
Wayne's World.
Yeah, Wayne's, but also the
Austin Powers.
Oh yeah, Austin Powers. That guy.
Spy who shagged me. Yeah.
That movie. Oh man, we our friends over at Workbox, man, have been talking about Workbox and their containers and things like that. But man, we're excited too. We're expanding. That's right. So, the second generation is doing it really, really good. We've opened up a new office for Workbox in the New Orleans and also the Gulf region. So the New Orleans, the entire Gulf region, we can now service you from the Gulf Coast all the way to Lake Charles. A little Martin, that's right, Martin Padial Jr. and his team, Martin Sr., Martin Jr., Hannah, Brandy, Chris. Again, it's a great staff, and we're excited about now broadening our services all the way from Lake Charles to the Gulf region. Workbox and WorkboxLLC.com.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up here at Rufino's. Again, LSU baseball tomorrow at 1 and on Sunday at 5 against West Virginia. Tigers heavy favorites to advance to Omaha, but you got to go win those games. So it'll be a packed box, I'm sure. Warm temperatures, but the forecast looks pretty good as far as getting everything in and hopefully getting everything in on time. So looking forward to it. Super Regional Weekend is a lot of fun. Hope that by the time we talk to you again, LSU will have punched their ticket to Omaha. Could be all the way
Favorable
through.
matchup.
Yeah, favorable matchup. It's a good West Virginia team, but not an unbeatable West Virginia team by any stretch.
No, but where they may lack in some of their, numbers, stats. This is their group that has done more with that program in their history in back-to-back years.
Yes.
So last year was their first super regional appearance ever, and they come back and get it here again. And we thought, and then they win the regular season title. Moving into the Big 12 recently. There's something to be respected about
The resiliency, 3 last at bats, wins.
This group. This is a special group. This is their golden era of West Virginia Mountaineer baseball.
Thanks, everybody, for participating. For Jimmy Ott, for Max Gotro, Jordan Kinch is back in the studio. I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you. Good afternoon. We'll be at Walk-Ons in Bruley on Monday. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.